Oh my God, look at that. Look at that. Woo, so sticky. You can just imagine a little fly getting stuck in there. Like there's no way it's getting out. What's up, planty friends? Welcome back to another episode with me, Emma Tara, the urban botanist. In today's video, we are talking all about the carnivorous sundew, or Drosera capensis. This plant is so freaking cool, guys. Like, I'm obsessed. So like most sundews, this one is carnivorous. And what I think is just so neat about this species is how big it gets. My favorite thing about this plant specifically is that it is the perfect carnivorous plant for beginners. This is my second species of carnivorous plant that I have. I also have a Pinguicula butterwort. I have a video all about butterworts that I will link in the description down below if you want to dive in. But I figured in today's video we could learn more about these really interesting carnivorous plants together, and I'll talk you through how I use them when creating a terrarium. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel, hit that like button, and leave me a comment down below because my growing channel would so appreciate it. Okay, let's get into this plant. For starters, it's native to South Africa. You can find these growing in the Cape, and I am based in Quebec, Canada. And believe it or not, we have just around 20 species of carnivorous plants that are native to Canada. In fact, we have sundews, and I've seen them myself growing out on Vancouver Island. I did a whole video about this discovery, and I will link that in the description down below as well. If you're new here, one thing about me is I love learning about new and unique species of plants, insects, and animals and sharing them with you here. I also love discovering new habitats and ecosystems and understanding how they work. So if any of that resonates with you, make sure that you're subscribed. So what makes this plant carnivorous are those sticky tendrils that you can see. I know that that looks like water droplets, but it is actually a sticky digestive enzyme that the plant produces itself to attract, capture, and digest insects. What a cool freaking houseplant this is. Like, think about the fruit flies, the fungus gnats, and the other pests that might be floating around your houseplant collection. If you're anything like me and have, I don't know, 150 plus houseplants, chances are you probably got some flies fluttering around. And I already can see a couple little fungus gnats that have been captured inside of these sticky tendrils. These plants also flower, which is really cool. It has a little flower stalk that's coming up just right here, and they produce these little tiny delicate purple flowers, also really similar to the butterworts. Now you may be wondering why these plants are carnivorous at all. Well, it's because they typically tend to thrive in nutrient poor soil, places like bogs, for example. And because the soil that they live in is so nutrient poor, for example, this is just growing in regular peat moss, they supplement that extra necessary intake of minerals through the capture of small insects. And actually, some carnivorous plants do more than just insects. They'll capture birds, frogs, lizards, and other small invertebrates. In fact, there are over 800 species of carnivorous plants that have been identified worldwide, and they're still discovering species today. The species of sundew that exists in Canada is called the round-leafed sundew, and Charles Darwin himself, when he first discovered those plants, he thought that they were one of the most interesting and fascinating species that he had ever came across. Anyways, this plant specifically prefers bright indirect light, so you can actually put it in a really sunny spot. I have one growing just behind me here in a terrarium, which is what I'm going to talk about next. But first, let's do a stick test. I wonder if you guys can see this. Oh my God, look at that. Look at that. Woo, so sticky. You can just imagine a little fly getting stuck in there. Like there's no way it's getting out. Can you see that? It's so friggin' cool. Okay, now let's talk terrariums and why I think that the Drosera capensis is the perfect carnivorous plant for terrariums. If you've tried growing Venus flytraps in the past and they've died and not done so well, you are not alone. I think I have killed, God, I don't know how many Venus flytraps, and it's like, I keep wanting to buy them because they're so cool, but they're not really the easiest beginner level carnivorous plants for folks to grow. And something really cool that I just learned about Venus flytraps actually is that they are endemic to northeastern US, meaning that you can only find them there. Okay, one second, I need to Google this. Venus flytraps endemic to North Carolina. I was close. Well, yeah, I was bang on. Venus flytraps are endemic to a specific region in North and South Carolina, primarily within a 75-mile radius of Wilmington. They are native only to this area, though have been cultivated and introduced elsewhere, which is just so cool to think about. Like, there are so many species of plants that are endemic to Madagascar. And like I said, endemic means that they can only naturally be found in that very specific ecosystem. So you have to think about all of the different environmental factors that are taken into consideration when growing a plant, right? And because that habitat is so uniquely specific, it's probably what makes Venus flytraps more difficult to grow than the Drosera capensis. Sundews are a lot more dispersed and you can find them in multiple different habitats around the world, which leads me to using them in terrariums. This is a little tiny terrarium that I just started working on, and it's really the draft version of what will eventually, at least by the time you're watching this video, it is live, but what will eventually be our carnivorous DIY terrarium kits available on the urbanbotanist.ca. What you're going to receive in a kit is, of course, the glass vessel, the peat moss layer, which is absolutely necessary, a drainage layer, a really funky piece of lava stone, some moss, and a little bit extra sphagnum moss for decor. But I actually want to add a little bit more moss to this design because why not add more moss to anything ever? Like, give me a reason not to. You cannot convince me that more moss is not the answer because it almost always is. But one thing that is really important for this species of plant is that you can only water it using distilled or reverse osmosis water, not just bottled water, because a lot of bottled water has a mineral content, which is okay for us as humans to consume, but these plants really need a highly acidic ecosystem to thrive in that has absolutely no minerals whatsoever. So if you're using tap water, the minerals in that tap water will 100% kill your carnivorous plant. That pretty much is the case for almost all carnivorous plants, if not all of them, but definitely the case for this plant specifically. So over here in this little area, I have my special little reverse osmosis water that I water her with. And that drainage layer down below, you want that layer to be a nice thick layer of stone that always has water in it. Because these plants tend to thrive in like a bog sort of an ecosystem, that peat moss has to almost always be wet. You do not want to let this plant ever dry out. So that's why I've added that thick layer of gravel in the bottom so that I can also see where the water is at and if I need to add a bit more to top it up. Okay, let's add some moss. Another reason why I really love using moss in a terrarium like this is it will help to trap and capture the moisture, meaning that the terrarium will not dry out as easily. This just looks so much cooler with all this extra moss. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you learned something new about carnivorous plants, and specifically about this red-caped sundew. If you're interested in ordering one of our carnivorous plant DIY kits, I will link them in the description down below. Make sure that you are following me on Instagram. I am at The Urban Botanist, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. We will see you in the next video. Bye!